Have you ever felt lost in the crowd, wondering why some men just shine in your life while others leave you feeling empty? Today, we're diving deep into a truth many avoid: what makes a man truly high value and why others just don't measure up. Brace yourself, because this isn't just about money, looks, or charm. It's about heart, mind, and soul. Self worth and confidence are the invisible foundations that define a man's presence in the world, the kind of qualities that can't be faked or forced, but are quietly recognized by everyone around him. A man with self worth doesn't constantly seek validation from others because he has already measured his value within himself. He knows that approval from the outside world is temporary, fleeting, and never a true reflection of who he is, and that understanding gives him a quiet strength that is impossible to ignore. Confidence, in its truest form, does not scream or demand attention. It exists in the calm assurance of knowing one's abilities, decisions, and limits. This type of man doesn't boast about accomplishments or force respect from others. Respect comes naturally because people sense the integrity and self respect that he carries effortlessly. He makes choices without hesitation, not out of arrogance, but because he trusts his instincts and understands the weight of his own principles. Every gesture, every word, even his silences are infused with a sense of purpose that makes his presence felt without the need for theatrics or overcompensation. In contrast, a man lacking self worth is often consumed by insecurity, constantly looking outward for signs of acceptance or admiration. His confidence is superficial, fragile, and dependent on others' opinions, making him unpredictable and emotionally draining to those around him. The approval of others becomes a currency, and every interaction carries the subtle tension of seeking validation, proving himself, or comparing his life to those he envies. This desperation can manifest in ways that are damaging not only to his relationships, but also to his own sense of identity, leaving him perpetually unsatisfied and unfulfilled. He may try to mask his insecurities with bravado, charm, or material possessions, but the hollowness remains visible to anyone who pays close attention. Unlike the high value man whose confidence is rooted in authenticity, a low value man's attempt at self assurance is performative and fleeting, leaving cracks in the facade that betray the lack of true inner strength. Self worth also influences the way a man navigates challenges, failures, and criticism. A man who knows his value is resilient. Setbacks do not define him, nor do they diminish his sense of self. He can accept constructive criticism without feeling threatened and can reflect on mistakes without succumbing to self doubt. This resilience stems from a deep understanding that his worth is inherent and not contingent upon achievements, status, or the approval of others. Confidence allows him to take risks, pursue passions, and step into situations that require courage because he believes in his capacity to handle outcomes, whether they are favorable or not. There is a freedom in this mindset, a liberation from fear of judgment, that not only enhances personal growth, but also inspires those around him to recognize their own value. Ambition and purpose are the compass and the engine that drive a man forward in life, the invisible forces that shape his decisions, his character, and the energy he brings into every space he enters. A man with true ambition is not merely chasing wealth, status, or fleeting recognition. His desires are grounded in a deeper understanding of what he wants to contribute to the world and who he wants to become. Purpose gives direction to his ambition, transforming it from restless longing into intentional action. He wakes up each day with a sense of clarity, knowing not only what he wants, but also why he wants it. And that clarity manifests in the confidence, determination, and consistency with which he pursues his goals. Ambition without purpose can be aimless and exhausting, but when coupled with purpose, it becomes a force of nature, an energy that pulls him forward, even when the path is difficult, uncertain, or lonely. This type of man is deliberate in his choices, understanding that every action, every decision, and every sacrifice must align with the vision he has for himself and his life. In contrast, a man without ambition drifts through life like a leaf in the wind, carried by circumstances rather than guiding them. He may appear busy, but his busyness lacks direction. He moves, but he never truly progresses. Without purpose, his days blend into each other, filled with distractions, fleeting pleasures, and the hollow pursuit of approval from others. There is a certain restlessness in him, a subtle dissatisfaction that never fully disappears because he senses, even if unconsciously, that something vital is missing, something that cannot be replaced by comfort, admiration, or material gain. Low value men often envy the drive and clarity of those who have purpose, mistaking it for arrogance, when in reality it is the quiet, relentless discipline of knowing who they are and where they are going. They may talk about dreams, but their words are empty, lacking the backbone of commitment, sacrifice, and sustained effort that ambition grounded in purpose demands. A man with ambition and purpose approaches challenges differently. He sees obstacles not as barriers, but as opportunities to test his resolve, to refine his skills, and to grow stronger. Failure is never the end, but a lesson, a stepping stone that brings him closer to the vision he holds for himself. He does not measure success solely by external markers. Instead, he evaluates it by how much he has progressed toward his own potential, how closely his actions align with his values, and how his efforts impact the lives of others. Purpose fuels his resilience, and ambition gives him momentum, allowing him to navigate life with both patience and persistence. Even when the journey is long and grueling, there is a quiet joy in the act of pursuing something meaningful, a satisfaction that comes from knowing that every day he is inching closer to the man he aspires to be. Emotional intelligence is the quiet power that distinguishes a man who is truly high value from one who is not, a depth of awareness that touches every interaction, every relationship, and every choice he makes. It is the ability to understand not only his own emotions, but also the emotions of others, to navigate the complex currents of human connection with empathy, patience, and insight. A man with emotional intelligence recognizes that feelings are not weaknesses to be hidden or dismissed, but signals to be acknowledged and understood. He does not allow anger, frustration, or disappointment to dictate his actions. Instead, he examines the roots of these emotions and responds thoughtfully, choosing words and behaviors that reflect clarity rather than impulse. This level of self-awareness gives him a sense of calm authority, a presence that reassures those around him because they sense that he is not easily shaken, that he can handle conflict without causing destruction, and that he values understanding over winning. In contrast, a man lacking emotional intelligence often stumbles through interactions, reacting rather than reflecting, allowing his emotions to spill over in ways that can hurt or confuse those he cares about. He may struggle to recognize his own feelings, let alone interpret the feelings of others, leading to misunderstandings, tension, and unnecessary conflict. Low-value men can be volatile or dismissive, unable to process criticism or failure without defensiveness, and quick to blame others for situations that require introspection. Their lack of emotional control can create an atmosphere of uncertainty, leaving loved ones constantly guessing, walking on eggshells, or feeling drained. Emotional immaturity often masquerades as passion or intensity, but beneath the surface, it is insecurity, a lack of self-regulation, and an inability to empathize that limits their relationships and personal growth. A man with emotional intelligence also possesses the ability to communicate effectively, not just through words, but through tone, body language, and timing. He listens deeply, seeking to understand rather than to reply, and he expresses himself in ways that are authentic yet considerate. He can navigate sensitive conversations, diffuse tension, and create a sense of safety and trust simply by being attuned to the emotional undercurrents around him. This ability to connect on a deeper level allows him to build meaningful, lasting relationships where mutual respect and understanding flourish. He is aware of the impact of his actions and words, and he chooses to act in ways that uplift rather than undermine, that nurture rather than drain. Understanding that emotional intelligence is not just about managing feelings, but about cultivating harmony and growth in every aspect of life. Furthermore, emotional intelligence strengthens resilience, allowing a man to endure personal setbacks, relational challenges, and professional pressures without losing his sense of self. He can reflect on mistakes with clarity and humility, learning from them rather than being consumed by guilt or shame. By acknowledging the full spectrum of human emotions and responding with wisdom and compassion, he becomes a stabilizing force in his own life and in the lives of those around him, creating environments where trust, loyalty, and authentic connection can thrive. Respect and integrity are the pillars that define a man's true character, the qualities that silently command admiration and trust without ever needing to be announced. A man of respect does not demand it through loud gestures, threats, or manipulation. He earns it through the way he treats others, from the stranger on the street to the people closest to him. His actions are guided by a deep understanding that every person deserves dignity, regardless of their status, wealth, or position in life. Respect is not conditional for him. It is a principle that shapes his decisions and interactions, a quiet but unshakable moral compass that ensures he behaves ethically even when no one is watching. A man with integrity mirrors this respect internally as well. He honors his commitments, speaks truthfully, and refuses to compromise his values for temporary gain or convenience. His word carries weight because it is not tossed around carelessly. Promises made are promises kept, and his reputation is a reflection of the unwavering principles he lives by each day. In contrast, a man who lacks respect and integrity often navigates life through self-interest, manipulation, or fear of judgment. Low-value men may appear charming or persuasive at first, but over time, the absence of true moral grounding becomes evident in broken promises, disrespectful behavior, and a pattern of betrayal toward themselves, their loved ones, or the people who trust them. Without integrity, words become hollow, relationships become transactional, and trust is fragile or non-existent. Respect for others is replaced by judgment, condescension, or disregard, revealing a deep insecurity that masks itself as arrogance or entitlement. People may be drawn to him temporarily for superficial reasons, but lasting admiration, loyalty, or meaningful connection is impossible because the foundation of his character is weak and unreliable. The emptiness that comes from living without integrity often goes unnoticed at first, but it quietly corrodes relationships, opportunities, and self-worth over time. A man who embodies respect and integrity approaches challenges with a steady heart and a clear mind. He understands that difficult choices often test one's principles, but he does not bend or compromise when the easier path tempts him. He holds himself accountable for mistakes, seeks to make amends when necessary, and refrains from blaming others for circumstances beyond his control. Respect and integrity are visible not only in grand gestures, but also in the smallest actions, keeping promises, honoring agreements, speaking kindly even when it's hard, and acting honorably in moments when shortcuts could yield immediate benefits. These qualities create a magnetic trustworthiness, drawing people toward him not because he demands it, but because they sense the consistency, fairness, and sincerity in every action he takes. Moreover, integrity fuels self respect, which in turn strengthens emotional resilience. A man who lives by his values does not crumble under pressure, cannot be easily swayed by temptation, and does not fear judgment or criticism because he knows that he has conducted himself with honesty and honor. Respect for others and for oneself creates harmony in relationships, inspires loyalty, and fosters an environment where people feel valued, safe, and understood. In this way, integrity and respect are not merely personal virtues, they ripple outward, shaping the lives of everyone who interacts with him and leaving a legacy that speaks far louder than words ever could. Support and encouragement are the quiet strengths that define a man who uplifts rather than diminishes, a force that nurtures growth and inspires confidence in the people around him. A man who embodies these qualities does not compete with those he cares about or diminish their achievements to feel superior. Instead, he celebrates success, comforts in failure, and consistently reminds others of their worth and potential. His support is not conditional or performative, but genuine, a steady presence that reassures without demanding recognition or reward. Encouragement for him is an act of love and respect, an understanding that true connection grows when people feel seen, valued, and empowered to pursue their dreams. He knows that life is not a zero-sum game and that lifting others up does not reduce his own worth, but rather elevates the entire environment around him. In every gesture, whether small or significant, he conveys that he believes in the people he cares about, that he sees their strengths even when they doubt themselves, and that he is willing to stand beside them through challenges, setbacks, and triumphs alike. In contrast, a man who lacks support and encouragement often leaves others feeling drained, undervalued, or unseen. Low-value men may thrive on comparison, competition, or the need to assert dominance, creating an environment where those around them feel judged rather than nurtured. Their words, intentionally or unintentionally, can tear down confidence instead of building it, and their presence can feel heavy with judgment or expectation. When others succeed, they may respond with jealousy, criticism, or indifference, revealing a mindset that prioritizes self-interest over connection. Relationships with such men often carry subtle tension, leaving those who care about them questioning their own worth or doubting their abilities. Support in its absence becomes a rare commodity, and encouragement is replaced by distraction, negativity, or passive observation. The impact of this is cumulative as people gradually learn to seek validation elsewhere or lose faith in themselves when the person they rely on fails to provide guidance or reassurance. A man who truly supports and encourages others understands the transformative power of empathy and active presence. He listens attentively, acknowledges achievements without comparison, and provides guidance without imposing his own ego or agenda. Encouragement from him is not empty flattery, but rooted in honesty, insight, and care, tailored to the unique strengths and needs of the person he is uplifting. He recognizes that people grow at their own pace, and he celebrates progress, however small, knowing that even tiny victories can build momentum and self-belief. Support and encouragement are expressed in countless ways through words of affirmation, acts of kindness, sharing knowledge, offering guidance, or simply being a reliable presence in moments of doubt. This kind of man inspires confidence, not by dictating outcomes, but by creating an environment where people feel safe to try, fail, and rise again. Furthermore, the presence of support and encouragement strengthens bonds and fosters trust, allowing relationships to flourish with depth and authenticity. A man who embodies these qualities not only uplifts those he loves, but also creates a ripple effect, inspiring others to extend the same grace and reinforcement to the world around them. In nurturing growth, confidence, and resilience, he becomes a stabilizing force, someone whose impact is felt far beyond immediate interactions and who leaves a lasting impression through kindness, guidance, and unwavering belief in the potential of others. Consistency and reliability are the silent forces that define the character of a man who can be trusted in both ordinary and extraordinary moments, the qualities that create stability in relationships, work, and life itself. A man who embodies these traits does not act sporadically or according to whims. Instead, his behavior, decisions, and principles remain steady, providing a foundation of trust for those around him. Consistency is not about predictability in a boring sense, but about the unwavering alignment between his words and actions, between promises made and promises kept. Reliability flows naturally from this consistency. It is the assurance that he will show up, not just when convenient, but when needed, when tested, or when it matters most. This quality is profoundly calming for anyone who encounters it because it eliminates uncertainty and fosters a sense of security. You do not have to question his intentions, his loyalty, or his commitment because he has proven time and again that he can be counted on. In contrast, a man who lacks consistency and reliability leaves people in a constant state of doubt and uncertainty. Low-value men may make promises, express intentions, or offer support, but their follow-through is inconsistent, leaving those who trust them feeling disappointed, frustrated, or hesitant. Their words carry little weight because they are not backed by dependable action, and their presence may be fleeting or unpredictable, creating an emotional instability that makes relationships exhausting or superficial. People cannot plan, rely, or grow with them because there is no assurance that their behavior will align with their claims. In professional settings, this inconsistency undermines credibility and limits opportunities, while in personal relationships, it erodes trust and intimacy. The unpredictability of a man who cannot be relied upon is draining, forcing those around him to constantly second-guess his intentions or compensate for his absence or unreliability. A man with consistency and reliability approaches life with discipline, foresight, and respect for the people he interacts with. He understands that trust is not granted, but earned over time through repeated, reliable action. He does not make empty promises or commitments lightly, and he honors every agreement, no matter how small, recognizing that even seemingly minor actions contribute to a larger pattern of trustworthiness. This steadiness also reflects an internal harmony, a sense of alignment between his values, priorities, and behaviors. His consistency is not rigid or inflexible. Rather, it is guided by principle, rooted in integrity, and adaptable in ways that maintain reliability without compromising authenticity. In relationships, this means that loved ones can depend on him to be emotionally present, supportive, and engaged. In work and personal pursuits, it ensures that he progresses steadily toward his goals, builds credibility, and earns the respect of peers and colleagues alike. Moreover, consistency and reliability foster a deep sense of respect and admiration in others, not because of flashy gestures or occasional brilliance, but because they signal a man who can be counted on day after day, even when no one is watching. This quiet strength nurtures trust, nurtures relationships, and inspires loyalty, creating an environment where people feel secure, valued, and understood. Reliability does not only manifest in action, but in presence, in communication, and in the ability to remain steadfast through challenges, setbacks, and uncertainties, making it one of the most profound indicators of high value in a man. At the end of the day, recognizing the difference between high value and low value men is not about judgment or comparison. It is about clarity, awareness, and the courage to choose wisely. A high value man is defined by his self worth and confidence, by a belief in himself that radiates quietly without arrogance, by ambition and purpose, which give direction to his actions and meaning to his life, by emotional intelligence, which allows him to navigate relationships with empathy, understanding, and authenticity, by respect and integrity, which ensure that his words and actions are grounded in honor and truth, by support and encouragement, which uplift those around him rather than diminish them, and by consistency and reliability, which make him a steady presence and a man who can be trusted in every circumstance. Low value men, in contrast, may appear charming or successful on the surface, but they lack the depth, the principles, and the steadiness that truly enrich the lives of those around them. They seek validation instead of embodying it, drift without purpose, react impulsively, compromise easily, and often leave uncertainty or disappointment in their wake. The difference is not always obvious at first glance, but over time it becomes undeniable in the way they make others feel, the trust they inspire or fail to inspire, and the legacy they leave behind. Understanding these differences is not just a lesson in discernment. It is a guide for the life you choose to build, the relationships you allow into your world, and the values you refuse to compromise. It is a reminder that the men we let into our lives shape not only our experiences, but also our growth, our happiness, and the person we become. By seeking men of true value, we invite strength, authenticity, and inspiration into our lives, and we honor our own worth by refusing to settle for anything less.